Wow, this is this is awe-inspiring. It's really refreshing to hear this type of information, being that we're in 2012. Because when we talk about 2012, we have two camps here. We have the camp that believes that this is going to be the Great Awakening. That
Yeah.
this is where, the pendulum is going to shift, from all the gook to the good stuff. But then we also have the other camp that's thinking that, okay, this is where the earth is going to open up and swallow us all, and we're all going to be done. What are your thoughts and opinions on 2012, John?
Well, looking at us being 4.5 months into the 2012 understanding, one of the things is that we can look at and what is happening is that it's without a doubt we're seeing a consciousness shift on the planet, and we're seeing it from all aspects, from the lower frequencies to the higher frequencies. The higher ones usually don't make it on the news media. That usually happens within our own networks of soul family and friends. And but what we see just happening in the planet is that all these subversion, all these psychological tactics to subdue the masses are now being revealed. And this is something that we started seeing last year, in Egypt, and how it started in Egypt, but the people just said no more. And they would not run away from fear and from these terrorist tactics. They became stronger in numbers. And we started to realize that, the people are waking up. And the first level of waking up is that you will no longer stay within fear. You will rise above it. And once you're above it in the harmonic aspects of the human existence, you have to go below to try to go back into fear. And most people won't take that choice once they rise above, because you're on the next plateau, and then you're realizing you can see better up here. You have a bigger picture and a higher understanding of how things operate. So why would you go back down? Why would you go back into the basement where you're confined to four walls?
That's true.
So when we start seeing that happen on a human frequency, we realize the shift is already happening. We will see the mechanisms that have been in play for a long time still try to do their best to subdue, but all that's going to do is make the masses stronger, because those lower frequencies, people are going, we will not have this anymore. When I was out there in Egypt in November during the elections, the news on CNN and all the other stations, Al Jazeera, they only kept showing that one act of the incident of the cars being on fire and people running and the bodies being drug off. And what I noticed is that they were literally programming people to be fearful of that moment. They would show some live, but then they'd repeat that over and over again for 2 days, 3 days straight, until people only saw that image over and over and over again. That was literally 7 minutes of several days. But what most people didn't realize is that everyone was peaceful in the square. We were out there when it all turned, and you could feel the energy change. But what was really interesting is that when one person died, 10,000 more people arrived. When another person died, another 10,000 people arrived, until there were literally over 1 million people in that square. Based from 10 deaths. Now, when we see that, it wasn't people leaving; it was people coming. And this is where we have to start looking at it. What would cause that to happen? People are saying no more. They will not run away because they see death on the TV or heard someone die. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. This is where we see that resonance frequencies of the planet are going through a shift. Now, most people don't understand that from the bigger picture. I do. I go to Egypt and I measure the fields, the grids where all the temples are every time I go, and we have tangible evidence. There are literally a couple of the temples that are so active now you can feel the energy with your hands. It's like liquidic energy. You move your hand and it's like all of a sudden you're hitting this energy bubble. They're only in certain areas, but without a doubt you can feel it. And so and I'm showing people, I said, this is like maybe 1% of what was really going on back here. But we are returning to this arc in the universe and aligning to these galactic streams of energy that the Earth has not been in for thousands of years. And this is where it gets really interesting. Now we can realize that the old technologies that once built these ancient kingdoms are returning, and with that comes the consciousness to understand how to harness and how to utilize them. And a lot of people look at the places that are ancient on this planet, and they will theorize, but none of them have actual proof of how they were built. So I take little technologies out, and I start working with some of the elements that the Egyptians or the builders of these ancient structures, knew. And when you start combining these materials, what happens with energy? And using Livestream, there is one on my YouTube page, which is Consciousstreams, all one word. It's actually Livestream and the connection in Egypt, where I took a very small device and I brought it to one of the families that lives, right outside, the pyramid fields. One of the best views, in Egypt. When you go on their roof. And when I brought that in and we started doing different experiments with different materials, but also what happens when you introduce the human element and what happens with the human system and the human intention, it changes everything. We're getting closer to understand how they were able to levitate, 200-ton boulders, but more or less, the energy fields to cut them in absolute precision, within a micron variance, within themselves. We're still not able to do that, even with our sophisticated lasers, to cut through granite so perfectly, to cut through basalt so perfectly and so accurately. There's so many things that if you look down, it blow you away. Most people, the first time they go to Egypt, they look up and they're in awe. But there's so much more that is below our feet. And that's what I got introduced on my last journey, and it blew me away. What's down below that hardly anyone even knows exists. The Egyptian government, they just locked it up and walked away from it because it's old kingdom, and it's the oldest, but it's the most sophisticated. And this is every kingdom, after it degraded. They started losing information. So this is where it's very interesting. The older the structures are, the more sophisticated they were. So what happened? What arc happened on this planet? And I theorized that it was the energy fields. We are not able to harness energies that once existed. We were too far away from them, and now we're returning to them. It's almost like if you had a cell phone and it worked, and then you drove 300 miles, out into the Australian outback, it would cease to function and communicate. The other functions would work, and if you stay out there long enough, you would even forget how the technology worked in the first place. You would just utilize it for what it does now. But now you start to return to where the towers are transmitting the signals, and now the technology starts to function again, but we don't understand what it's doing until we start getting closer and we realize, wait a minute, this is a communication tool. This is a different frequency now that this device is picking up. The closer I get to this transmitter, the more functional it becomes. That is this planet in this grand scheme of the universe, and what the Mayans and this 26,000-year journey and this alignment that is happening on the planet, and these energies that are going to be returning. It's the game changer. It's the conscious game changer.
Wow.
And there's proof. We can take live streams that are built. I got this little one that I put in a backpack, and I can take anywhere, with me, and it's battery powered, and it's amazing what this little thing will do. And I have pictures, and understanding the measuring fields when we literally open up what we call portal energies, and we understand what the Egyptians, how they built these temples on, these ley lines of the planet. And each holiest of holies in the temple, in each of the temple sites, the holiest of holies chamber is the crossing of those two grids. That is where the power vortex of the planet will amplify the highest level of energy. So using certain elements, earth elements, they're accumulators, just like we do today with our limited knowledge of how we use capacitors or batteries to store energy. You know, we use rudimentary understandings. The Egyptians knew bigger ways of harnessing energy. And this is where it gets very interesting, because you got to remember, we set our parameters within our consciousness of how to convert energy to utilize certain levels of technology for our convenience. So now when we're talking about 0 point, we can harness 0 point at any time. The hardest part is the conversion, to convert it to utilize what we are doing now with our technologies. You kind of get that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You know, it's fascinating and frightening at the same time. You know.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you know. And, you know, listening to you, you know, really teach about it, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm really imagining it like, yeah, you know, this is fascinating, you know, but at the same time, it's also frightening as well because, man, you know, the things that we do on this planet, you know, we tend to not only utilize these energies to create good things, but going back to what we were speaking about earlier, we tend to, you know, also want to sit down and figure out, well, how could we use it in a destructive way?
Yes.
You know, and we're going to take a quick pause, John, because we have a question from a listener on the switchboard. So we're just going to take a peek at the switchboard to see if anyone has any questions. We have a caller from the 516 area code. Caller, if you're there, please state your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from New York. This is Quentin, John.
Quentin, my brother, how are you?
I'm good, brother. It's so good to hear your voice.
Good to hear yours, my friend.
I just wanted to say I'm so proud of you, man, and to tell the people that I've known you for many years, and this man has been an integral part in my spiritual awareness just by being around him and listening to him and having him as a friend for all these years, man. And so I am so glad that you're giving. You know, I've touched this energy that you have been sharing with so many people, so I know firsthand the things that it can awaken in everyone, and I'm just so proud of you, bro.
Oh man, you know how much I love you. I can't wait to share a space with you once again. And I know
we will.
Coming soon. Yes,
definitely. And have a continued great show, man, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you so much.
You got it,
Thank
bro.
you for calling in, brother. You know, I mean, very excellent commentary. Peace and blessings to you. Okay, and getting back now, what I really found really interesting, you know, in one of our private conversations, you know, you were talking about, you know, how you had traveled to 5 countries, but now when you return to the States, you return to a state of homelessness, and you see that as a gift. You know, now when we look at homelessness in the conventional way, it's something that's not nice, you know, but then when I heard you explain it, I was like, well, wow, you know, I really would like him to share this with the family. So please expound on that, brother.
Well, you know, to expand on it is, you know, what I do see it as a great gift, and the reason why I do is because, you know, when I realized that I was in a level of comfort, and you know, sometimes I call it the uncomfortable comforts. You know, we are uncomfortable, but we're comfortable at the same time, and we're not really ready to shift out of that uncomfortableness because it's comfortable. Know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So in that aspect is all the seeds that I planted last year, you know, right after Japan had the disasters with the earthquake and the tsunami and then the nuclear meltdown, I put together a humanitarian project, and that was a big awakening for me, was to build one of my most powerful technologies and to bring it out there, to plant a seed and to give it to the people. And so I did that. You know, it was about a $25,000 expense. I thought nothing of it. And, you know, I put it out there, and, you know, there were so many wonderful people who helped donate to the cause. So about 10% of that came in, you know, and you know, I was just grateful that, you know, people understood what I was passionately willing to do. And so many people said, you're going to go out there, there's all that radiation and all that. I said, you know, if this is about the now. I said, there's no fear, you know, is that I understand if I'm putting myself, you know, to the test, I'm putting the technology to the test, is that I am to bring this technology to help people with this issue, with the radiation. And if, you know, if everything within me is correct, they will realize that this technology is going to help people on so many levels. So when I did it, it was kind of a mystery. You know, there's about 110 people that showed up for this beautiful ceremony. And when I presented the technology, I did some really wonderful demonstrations. You know, we had to have a translator there because, you know, everyone spoke Japanese. And once I planted that seed, then I left. And what was very interesting is that when I returned months later to do a presentation, because they were very intrigued by the effects of it, and they wanted to know more, I said, well, I'll come out and I'll do demonstrations for the doctors, you know, anybody that wants to. So I went out there for a few days, and I asked, you know, where the technology was. And they said, oh, it's downstairs in a closet. And I just kind of looked, and I didn't say anything. I didn't react. I said, wow, that's interesting. I said, I gave that to the gift of the people, but apparently something was misunderstood, and it got put away when I left, and it didn't get out there. And so I had to really understand what was happening. I said, did I not communicate it clearly, or was there something missing? So when I went back out there, I presented another level of technology, and the people that were there were profoundly affected by it, and they realized what it was capable of, so they decided to put it to a test. And once that happened, they put it out, and literally for the last several months, it's been at it's about 100 kilometers away from Fukushima. It's one of the first habitable towns out of the dead zone, you know, out of the hot spots. But it's still, they get waves of radiation there. And they said the people there were really in hopelessness states. You know, they didn't know what to do. They thought their lives were over. And then they introduced the Livestream technology to them, and they noticed people were gathering in the fields. They were, and they noticed over a period of days, the people were starting to change. Then they started to be hopeful. They started to see the future, and they started to, you know, consciously shift, and their physical bodies were changing at the same time. They were no longer burdened with this stress and this, you know, this radiation sickness at the same levels. And so this is where it took this monumental shift just recently, getting this information, and traveling there twice and planting these seeds. You know, it was the clearest message. Japan is where, you know, that this will take the next level. So planting the seeds of conscious shift, I could not interfere with it. I could only remind. And I went stagnant in my own journey. And this is where it gets very interesting, because I went, after Japan, I went to Dubai, then I went to India, and had profound, you know, transformations within myself in India, being touched by the Siddha. He did not just bless me. He literally physically grabbed me. And everyone was kind of shocked, you know, that they said, we've never seen Siddha touch anyone before. You know, so going through that physical transformation, you know, and everything that happened after that, it would take a whole other show to talk about this stuff, but it's the tangible. You know, it's not in the etherical planes. It's not theoretical. There's tangible evidence of these transformations, these shifts that are happening on the planet, and that is my dedication in my journey, is to show this to people. The Livestream technology is tangible. You know, it's not, you know, a theory. You know, these devices, you know, there's no trickery about it. They are pure energy, you know, generators, you know, and made by me. Everyone's built by me with the human intention to do just that, is to awaken people to their higher capabilities, to remove them out of the illusion. So when I went through that, and then when we finished the journey in Egypt, I went to Amsterdam, then I went to Egypt, and I was supposed to continue and go to Jordan, then Israel after Egypt, which would have been 7 countries. But when I had such profound experiences happen in Egypt, things that I never thought would happen, that happened within my own human system, you know, past my, you know, my research. And what happened is I just stopped there. And I said, I can't go any further, because I literally had a vision of myself. I was going to go to the Dome on the Rock in Jerusalem, and I literally saw myself standing on the rock and exploding. into fragmented pieces all over the earth. And I said, I'm not ready to do that yet. So I literally stopped and stayed in Egypt for a few more days, and that's when more of the secrets were uncovered to me. So what really happened in my journey that I went through, the only thing I can really call it, there's two terms. I call it spiritual vertigo, that happened within my own human system, is that I was given such profound information and knowledge, but I was trying to utilize it in old paradigm methods. And it was causing me to short out. And I could not find that balance. I was trying to utilize it in my old life, and I was getting nothing. And so I literally, what I would call, I humbly call it falling from grace. And I literally fell out of the light, and I put myself into a cocoon for 3 months. I didn't socialize with anybody. I didn't even know what was happening with current events. Most of the days I sat in absolute silence and meditated and just contemplated and and literally admitted to me falling down and bruising myself in the divine light. And I realized it was all part of the humbling experience that I would have to go through. And it was finished, with me literally being ejected from everything that I had comfort in my life. And where I was living, I was told I could stay there, and then 3 days later, I was told I couldn't, and I was ejected from it. There was no choice in the matter. I couldn't I couldn't give them money or anything. They just kept saying no. And I found that very interesting, and that's where I did my work and my business and my living. And I said, wow, this is very interesting, and I think I realized what's going on. So I completely accepted it, and I said, I see this as the great gift that it is. So I took everything that I owned, and I put it into storage facilities. And I am in a rent-a-wreck right now of like a 91 Honda Accord, and everything that I have is everything that I've had for the last 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. And I've just been in a transient stage. I've been literally traveling from place to place. Sometimes, I've been in hotels, and it's been really amazing, but I've been in people's homes. I was, wonderfully, I had the wonderful blessing to go into Ayana's temple and spend the night and share space with her last week, which was absolutely beautiful. And, I was so grateful. And then I started to understand, okay, I have to get out there. I have to remove myself from the comfort of what was holding me from not being the force that I can be. And I realized that I'm my own worst enemy. And I have so many deep-seated programs in me that only allow me to go so far. And I've had like multi-million-dollar businesses. Like I said, I had a $3 million a year effects company, 18 employees, 20,000 square feet. But the arc of that was not sustainable to take it past a certain point. Every time I had an idea, I made it work. And I had employees within, a short amount of time, running a machine. And then I would stop it on my own. So this is something I had to really look back and go, I'm my own worst enemy. I have a program in me that limits me, for the abundance streams. So, and it's not allowing me to do this global work. But then I realized if it did happen, if I was given back then all the money that I needed, I would have done more harm than good because I was still in my ego. I was still acting from a dualistic aspect. And you cannot realize that until you have realization that you were in it. And I became so humbled 2 weeks ago. I realized my pride was in the way, and that I immediately acknowledged. I said, I had this hidden pride, and I didn't even realize it. I wouldn't share with anybody, and then all of a sudden I realized I have to talk about this. I have to share my journey with others because there are others in the same situation that are getting this gift as I am, but they see it as a curse and what's wrong with them. So I've been posting my situation and doing video logs, on my Facebook page and sharing it with people, and it's been incredible. I've had literally, a couple hundred people, send me emails saying, I'm so glad you're doing this. I can so relate. I'm going through the same thing, you're not dwelling in lower frequencies. You're seeing this as a gift. Your vibration, is at a very high state, and I can see the humbleness in your journey. And I was just so grateful that people are getting that, and that I can be vulnerable and intimate and share, because I know, this is part of breaking these patterns that bind us. And I know consciously, even from a radio show like this, the conscious family that is listening might be another piece of the puzzle when we realize that we are ready. And we are truly ready to shift the paradigm for the conscious good on this planet. Because there's amazing ways that we can turn, this planet, and the people over consciously so easily. And it's all about breaking them free of the illusion. But we have to be careful of that. Just like the messages that were planted in the Matrix when Morpheus was talking to Neo after pulling him out. He said, these are the people that we are trying to save. But they are so inert in the system, so, attached to it, they will fight to the death to keep it because they don't realize that they are in an illusion. So this is where we have to understand, the finite balance to gracefully, be the way showers and to show people the doors, not to push them through it, but to show them that a door that they did not realize exists, then to give them the choice to walk through it.
This
I really
is true.
think this has been the basis of my journey is to become into that level of humbleness and realization, to be able to hold that door open for whoever chooses, and not to be judged, not to judge, not any level of judgment if someone chooses to go the other way.
Yes, indeed. Wow, time really flew by. I'm already planning your next visit, John. This was, I can tell by the feedback that this was awesome. Wasn't he awesome, family? I could honestly say this is one of, and I've done a lot of shows, but this was one of the more enlightening shows that I have done here on Occult Science Radio. And I can tell this show is going to get a lot of likes. We're going to see this all over Twitter and Facebook, and somebody is going to YouTube it. Because that always happens with a lot of Occult Science Radio shows. We take a lot of our shows and, we turn them into YouTube videos, come to find out that someone else already did. And I hope that's what happens, because the information that you taught us here tonight, brother, really needs to be, widespread. And like I said, I'm already planning your next, I should say, visits. Okay, because now you are a member of the family, and I can assure you, you're going to be appearing on Occult Science Radio on a frequent basis, my friend. Count on that.
Well, it would be a great honor for me to return, and, I will promise that I will be very open, very vulnerable, very intimate, to share, from the heart, and that's all that you will truly get from me. Is everything that I have done in my due diligence to connect the dots to share it. It is nothing that I am to keep coveted. It is nothing that I am to keep secret. I have to share it with everyone else who is seekers like myself.
True indeed. And so just take a few minutes to let everybody know what you got going on, what you got coming up, any information that you want to share with us, your website, your Facebook, your Twitter, any information that you might want to share with the family.
Well, excellent. Well, I do have, of course, you can reach out to me personally through Facebook, which is John D. Riley. That's R-I-L-E-Y. Also, I have the Livestream Generator and the Oculus page, which actually we talk more about the technology there and share. And my primary website is zeropointresearch.com, like you stated earlier. I did announce just a few days ago, after sitting very deeply, I realized that it's time to go to the next level. So I just recently announced that I will be doing a live stream tour throughout the United States, which I will be getting an RV, and I will be traveling to different destinations, and I will be presenting the technologies for whoever wants it. So this is something I'm going to dedicate 2 to 3 months of my life to just literally hop in an RV and travel around the greater United States to do this. So anyone who wishes to do this can contact me directly, through either John at zeropointresearch.com, or you could do it through Facebook from the Livestream Generator page. And I'll literally be orchestrating the journey and we'll be setting the dates. I am also looking for someone that would be willing to donate for the cause a really nice, dependable RV where I can literally pack up the technology. I might even have my kids with me, on this journey partially. And, and if someone is willing to donate that, they will receive an M400 Consciousness, which is the big tower that which is everyone's favorite technology. It's the biggest one. It's over 6 feet tall. That will be made for you by me. It's a $23,000 value, and that would be a gift. Or if anyone is working to connect me to someone who has that, they will receive a Livestream Technology as well, an M100. So I'm being very gifting if the family comes together and puts this together for me. Now, I open myself up to present into people's homes, into people's yoga or wellness centers, churches, stadiums, you name it. If you're feeling that you want to, be an ambassador to bring this technology forth, trust me, it's tangible technologies. We're going to have 5 different ones with us, and it is time to really show, the world what this is capable of. I've been very honored because we have, technologies, over 500 of them in various countries around the world, and it's just really amazing that people have been connecting word of mouth via the internet, via people's, experiences. But now I really want to take it to the next level. So this summer is kind of, the 2012 shift that I really feel is important, is to plant these seeds.
Yes, indeed. And I just want to take this time, my friend, not just coming from me, but coming from the entire Occult Science Radio family. We want to take this time to extend a lot of love and a wholehearted thanks for you taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us on Occult Science Radio. My brother, believe me, we were just scratching the surface here, because from watching your video content, believe me, you have so much more to share. But we all love you and we all support you. And yes, you're going to be on Occult Science Radio on a frequent basis. Thank you so much, beloved brother, and be well, and we look forward to having you back again.
No, thank you so much, and much love to you and everyone that's listening and all the Soul family. It's time. It's time. It's that simple.
It's true indeed. And we also want to be well, my friend, and we will be talking shortly.
Excellent. And I will see you on the East Coast.
I look forward to it, my brother.